In today's video, I will be talking about one of my favorite albums by Neil Young. It is the 50th anniversary of Harvest, released on February 14th, 1972. In this video, I'm going to give a quick personal history about the time I bought the album in the early 90s. I will give a brief description of the album, its personnel, its chart milestones, and after that, I'll do a track-by-track analysis. I will be focusing mostly on the lyrical content and, in some cases, how the singles charted. First, a quick personal history with this album. Back in the early 90s, I was listening to mostly grunge, alternative, and heavy metal. Some of my favorite bands back then were Alice in Chains, Helmet, Pantera, and more. But then one day I was in this record store. I saw this cassette in one of the bins. I remember it had like this Super Saver series sticker on it. Not sure why I bought it, but it might be because of a recent issue of Guitar World magazine had a transcription of Needle and the Damage Done. But anyway, this was an album that I loved. I played it over and over. And the funny thing is, it's a country rock album. Country is a genre that I never liked, but something about the songwriting and the raw guitar kind of really made me love this album even to this day. So with that being said, let me talk about it. Harvest is the fourth album by Neil Young. It was released in February of 1972. It's a very special album. It has lots of guest stars. So, for example, it has the London Symphony Orchestra on 2 tracks, and also has David Crosby. It has Graham Nash, Linda Ronstadt, Stephen Stills, and James Taylor. So this was a very popular album. It reached #1 on the Billboard 200 album chart. It stayed there for 2 weeks. It had 2 very big singles, Old Man and Heart of Gold, the latter reaching #1. So it was a really big album. I'm just going to go through the songs one by one and talk about them, so let's get right into it. The first song is called Out on the Weekend. This is a country ballad. It's a very nice, easy, relaxing type of song. Kind of gives you the feeling of like riding on a horseback slowly through the prairies. The song's about a man getting away from the big city. He's reflecting on his past, and he's just feeling many different things, like sadness. The lyrics talk about lovers who are lonely and also mention a woman. When it says, open quote, she's so fine, she's on my mind, close quote. Neil Young also stated that even when he was happy, it sounded like he was not, and then when he tried to say he's happy, he would try to disguise it. So to him, it kind of meant like he's so happy, but he couldn't get it all out, and it kind of sounds sad, so he tried to hide it. The next song is called Harvest. This is a slow country dance song. It has a very slow tempo. The piano is the big instrument on this song. The lyrics to Harvest talk about a relationship with a woman. The singer wonders how much love he will receive from the relationship and how much he will be able to accept, or in other words, like harvest that love. There have also been some interpretations of the lyrics. So for example, when he says, did she wake you up to tell you that it was only a change of plan? That lyric may have been referring to his mother-in-law's suicide attempts. The next song was called A Man Needs a Maid. And I remember the first time listening to this, I guess I thought it maybe was kind of very either dated or kind of chauvinistic, but you have to kind of look into the lyrics. Basically, Neil Young sings about how he wants to find love, but he's insecure, and he doesn't really want to get hurt. So it could be like an alternative to hire a maid. She comes in, she cooks and cleans a little bit and then leaves, and it's kind of like a safer option, but what he really wants is a partner in life, and it's just a very nice song. This is a song that has the London Symphony Orchestra, one that I've always liked. The next song is called Heart of Gold. This is his biggest song. It's actually his only song to hit #1 in the United States. It also hit #1 in Canada. The song had Sugar Mountain as the B-side as a single. It's a folk rock or maybe country rock song. The song has James Taylor and Linda Ronstadt on backing vocals. Neil Young wrote it on the acoustic guitar because he had a back injury and it was hard for him to stand with the electric guitar for a long time. So he used the acoustic and the harmonica and he recorded it, and that's kind of what came out, and it ended up being one of his biggest ever. Next is Are You Ready for the Country? This was written by Neil Young, and one that has Neil Young playing the piano, also backed by a studio band. They were called the Stray Gators. And it also has other notable musicians on backing vocals, such as David Crosby and Graham Nash. He recorded this in a barn studio on his ranch. I always thought it was kind of a fun song, had a really bouncy beat. It's a very upbeat, feel-good kind of country rock song. Side 2 of the album opens with the song Old Man. This was released as a single. It reached number 4 in Canada and number 31 on the Billboard Hot 100 singles. The B-side to the song was Needle and the Damage Done, which I will talk about in a minute. And the song was written about a caretaker on a ranch that Neil Young purchased. And Neil Young, as a young man, basically was comparing his life to the old man's. And he explained how they both had the same type of needs, even though their lives were very different. On this song, James Taylor plays a 6-string banjo, and Linda Ronstadt does vocals. Next song is called "There's a World." There's a very big orchestral sound. I know the London Symphony Orchestra is on this one. The song is very theatrical quality, and I think it's pretty good. The next song is called "Alabama." This one has a signature electric guitar sound and could be heard throughout many other Neil Young albums. This is also one of the songs that Lynyrd Skynyrd responded to when they recorded "Sweet Home Alabama." The lyrics do criticize the South, and I think that was one of the reasons that Lynyrd Skynyrd did do that. But the song itself, it's pretty nice country rock and southern rock song, and I also like this one a lot. Next is "The Needle and the Damage Done." This is a song written about heroin addiction, something that affected a lot of musicians that Neil Young was close to. One of them was Crazy Horse member Danny Whitten. He ended up overdosing on heroin. It's also interesting to note that this is not a studio recording. It's actually a live recording, and they put it on the album. So I thought that was very interesting. This is also one of my favorite Neil Young songs of all time. The last song was called "Words Between the Lines of Hate." This is a song with a very classic Neil Young sound. It actually goes back to those previous albums. You hear those electric guitars, the piano, the straightforward southern rock sound. I think it's a pretty cool album closer, and it's also the longest song on the album, and features an extended jam session towards the end of the song. So in conclusion, I'm not really going to say much more about the album. It's a great album. I score it 10 out of 10. Probably my favorite Neil Young album out of all of his discography, or at least the ones I have listened to. Again, I may be a little biased because this is the one I did buy many years ago in the early 90s, but I can just listen to this one over and over, even 30 years later, and that's how good it is for me. So let me know in the comments section what you thought. And that is all. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back with more new releases. There's album reviews by Saxon, Korn, Venom, Prison, and those will be what I'll be focused on this weekend. Other than that, thanks for watching, and see you all in the next one.